This is Family Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air for the first time. And we're here with Kalise. How do I pronounce your first name? Just make sure I get it right.
It's Kalise.
Kalise White. And I want to welcome you to the Family Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing tonight?
I am doing great, and thank you for having me.
Well, we want to
Thank
let everybody know that this is going to be a live show, and we're talking to you live, so people understand like that. That's the format. But before we get to the heart of your story, I always ask every guest a couple questions. What motivates you, and why do you do what you do?
What motivates me is it is a real story. It's authentic, like it's my truth. This is like one of the main ways that help me, number one, to heal. And like by me healing, different people do different things in the healing process, like reading, writing, expressing it. So I did a combination of all of it. So that's what helped me get to where I'm at.
Because you wear a lot of hats. Like you're an entrepreneur. You're an author. You're a motivational speaker. You're a founder of Help Heal Nations.
Yes.
So what made you feel? Because I always talk to creative people, and some folks like they have a hard time with the permission structure to actually write their first book or do their first painting. What made you feel that you were ready to do that?
Well, I was ready because I was at a certain like turning point in my life where it was like, growing up, I was taught that what happens in the house like stays in the house. So the mindset followed me into my teenage years and adulthood, causing me to keep everything inside, like my pain, my losses, my trauma. So for years, I didn't talk about what happened to me. I carried it, silently with me. So now that I'm in a different place, I found my voice and I use it, and not only for my healing, but to help others heal too. So that's how I did it through like my books. My books are like my book is like my sequel mainly is like the declaration of my story. So now, I mean, I speak it now and I have the freedom. I have changed my life. So
Yeah, I think it's important for people to pay it forward because you're a public speaker, you write a book. I think paying it forward to me is like when you take the benefit of your experience, like your lessons learned in your life, and you share that with other people, then people can like learn like from what's happened to to you in your life, and then when you put it into words and you put it into like spoken word, and you actually talk to people face to face, it has a big impact. I think it's really important for people to hear what people have to say and their lived experience.
yes.
So like when you created the Help Heal Nations, there's a trauma recovery support community.
hmm
When did you start that?
I started Help Heal Nations like actually like a couple of years ago, but I really brought it into fruition like I would say over the last past like I say like a year and a half,
Hmm.
because I've always envisioned myself standing on stages, sharing my story with people across the world. And I knew my healing wasn't meant to stop with me. That's how Help Heal Nations was actually born. Um, I didn't want to just heal myself or people in my hometown. I wanted to heal nations. Wherever I go, I want to bring hope, faith, and transformation. That's my calling. So that's how that came about.
I think it's real important because a lot of times, like mental health awareness for some people, like they don't know how to go about it. They might feel shame about it. They might not feel comfortable talking about it.
Mhm.
And so once you open the door, when you start to have conversations and you create like judgment free spaces, because I think a lot of people bring their own filters, like their own, like they hear something and then they go, okay, that's what you mean. And they don't really get to understand what is actually being said.
True.
So, have you found when creating these judgment-free spaces for individuals healing from trauma, how did you go about making it feel like comfortable for everyone?
So, what I did, the first thing that I did was I had to make it comfortable with myself first.
Mhm.
So, like, once I started speaking, I got to the point where I started speaking and opening up on it, then that like paved the way, like, because it started my actual healing. So when I started my actual healing and I started opening up and doing that, and other people start seeing me do that, that like paved the way for other people because people would tell me. So that was like what basically like paved the way for that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when you talk to people, I've talked to a lot of like people who are, you know, in this space where they're public speakers and they're therapists or they're talking about therapy. They're talking about that's the feeling of pushing it forward, paying it forward. But it's like when you do that, it's an interesting like feeling when you talk to other people and you've become comfortable with your own trauma. Then it allows you to hear other people or to be able to love other people. You can't really love anyone else until you love yourself, right?
Yes. That is the number one thing. Like really. Like that, when I say that's when you learn to love yourself in that way, in that kind of space, not only do you feel it, it's like an impact. You feel it and other people feel it too because they see it. So when they see it, they feel it, they like, wow.
Yeah, it's like there's like a frequency in the world, like when you're radiating affirmation and positivity and understanding, that I think that it's like a law of attraction. If you're radiating love, then people around you feel the love. You're radiating compassion and empathy, then people around you have compassion and empathy. If you're not, if you're like dissonant, you're discordant, you're kind of angry, and people around you will probably be the same way. So you kind of bring your tribe around you, or your tribe comes to you.
Yes, absolutely.
So no longer silence. That's the first book, right? Or is that the second book?
No Longer Silence is the second book. It's the sequel to the first book.
It's the sequel. Okay.
Yes. The first book is called You Left Me, God
Hmm.
Bless Me. So,
Oh, and
yes.
you said you wrote them like in the same year. They got published in the same year, right?
Yes, like barely 30 days apart. That is correct.
Because you felt like there was a sequel, and yeah, you wanted people to have both of them when you started to like go on your tour, like you're doing this virtual book tour through our show tonight. But you just wanted to have that content at your fingers, so you would when you hit this circuit that you had like your whole I don't know catalog ready.
Yes, like so basically like when you write more than one book and the you have a first book and then you have a sequel. So it's like I gave the writers this. I gave them like highlights in the
Hmm.
first book. So so they like, okay, I want more. And it was just really like highlights. So it was like I had to do my sequel. So they'd be like, oh, okay. Because to pull them all the way in and to pull them all the way in, not just with me and my life, with them and their life as well.
Yeah, I think it's important because sometimes, like today in the market, like for books, like people don't like to read anything longer than like 50,000, 60,000 words. But if you had something that was like double that, then dividing it up into two books makes sense because you can actually, you don't have the like the people in the industry, like they all say, well, like if you're a songwriter, you can't write a 10-minute song anymore. You got to write a 2-minute song, but you might have two songs that really go together. So you might want to put them both out like as singles,
Yeah.
back to back, so that people get the understanding, like, oh, that's the full story.
Yes.
So your how did your incarceration experience like shape like the leader you and the woman you are today? Because that's like a central focus of what you're talking about in your books, right?
Yes. So my incarceration, it humbled me in every sense of the word. It taught me how to be still, something I never knew how to do. I was always moving, always reflecting, never always reacting, I'm sorry, never reflect. That's where my real spiritual transformation began. I started
Mhm.
seeking God in a deeper way, learning how to pray, fast, even when I didn't fully understand what I was doing. Prison forced me into confront my faith, my questions, my anger. I had a lot of why moments, and I often felt distant from God because of them. But now I understand that faith isn't about perfection, it's about persistence.
Mhm.
Um, Even life is painful. You keep believing, you keep praying, you keep moving forward. The mindset is what shaped me into the woman and leader I am today.
I think that's important also because like you're talking about the spirituality and then also kind of like looking within. So it's like finding some spiritual center, but also finding yourself. It's kind of like the Victorian poets talking about that this idea of the looking glass self. You look in the mirror, you ask yourself like, why did I do that? Why do I respond like that? Why do these things happen? And then also then you have your spiritual you know understanding or center to like not just be going out alone, knowing that you have something that's going to build you up, and you don't have to be perfect. I
Mm,
think that there's a perfection trap today that people feel like they have to do everything has to be perfect, and if it's not perfect, then it's not worth anything. And it's like life is imperfection, art is imperfection.
right.
Like every artist knows that like you can always do it different. You can always do something, and a lot of times it's the happy accidents that happen to you
Mhm,
that you learn from, and you benefit from it not being perfect
mhm.
because you have somewhere to go. Because you're not, no one's ever going to be 100% until you're not, until you get to your next phase. You're always working until you're not here.
Right. It's true.
So healing emotionally and mentally and spiritually, was it something that was like all encompassing? Did you go through phases? How did you have some guidance?
So like healing for me begins like every morning. Like instead of grabbing my phone, I start my day like with gratitude. I thank God for my life, my health, my mind, my stability, and everything. That practice grounds me emotionally and mentally. It reminds me that God is involved in my day before anything enters my mind. Spiritually, I read scriptures, I listen to affirmations, or I watch faith-based teachings. It gives me strength before I face the world. Healing isn't about feeling perfect. It's about choosing to push through even on hard days. I strive to be a better person, I'm sorry, than I was yesterday, last year, and even 10 years ago, you know. And when people see my transformation, I want them to believe that if I can change, so can they. So,
Yeah, I think people need to know it's not over, right? Like some people like to start if you start the day thinking it's over, the
right.
day's not going to go that well.
Yep.
So if you have little wins, like everybody wants to go from 0 to 100.
Mhm.
And I don't think you have to take the wins as they come, and you have to understand it's like you can't get everything all at once. I
Right.
think that it's a process. There's a continuum, and I think like when you deal with trauma and shame, you have to admit to yourself,
Right.
right, that you can try to get beyond. It's always going to be there, right? But you can't be in a bad loop, right? You
Right.
can't just like get resentful. I think
Right.
like resentment is really like destructive. So how do you get like past the silence of the trauma and the shame, and use it for building yourself up instead of tearing yourself down?
So I would say I use the silence as um because if, like my book says, no longer silence. So I was silenced for many, many, many years. And by me being silenced all those years, I held and kept a lot inside. So now I speak on it. I have a voice. I have a voice on it now. So I'm no longer silenced, but that's what I did in the silence process. I was always transforming, even I didn't even know I was.
Hmm.
I was getting to this place where I'm at right now, where I'm able to open up and heal and help myself as well as others.
Yeah, so it's actually being able to take what's inside and
Mhm.
bring it out into the world and actually understand it and tell a story.
Yeah.
Because I
ab-
think it's like everybody, who you live your life, you tell a story, no matter whether you think you are or not. Like with everyday life, when you talk to another human being, you're telling a story. Now, how you want to frame that story can kind of determine the outcome of how things are going to go for you. So it's
Right.
like you have to learn. Like, are you going to tell a story so people are going to, come to you and work with you, or are you going to tell a story and people are going to put their back up
Right.
and then go against you? So how do you kind of is that something that over time you start to say, hey, if I come to the world like this, then this happens. If I come to the world like that, then that happens.
Mhm. Yes. Both is true. Both scenarios that you use is true because everybody is different. Different people, some people want this way to be approached like this. Some people want that. So it's like, you just gotta be authentic. You just have to be yourself.
Hmm.
That's the best thing that I can say is just being yourself, telling your
Yeah,
true story.
yeah. Because I think one thing that some people like they try to mold to the moment
Hmm.
rather than if you can be your authentic self. But then I think people want to be safe, and if you're too vulnerable or you're too authentic, you tell too much of your own truth, you can get burned by it if you don't know how to handle it. So
True.
sometimes like being so it's over time. I think there's a certain matter of emotional maturity that allows you to be vulnerable. If you don't have that emotional maturity, then it's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to be authentic. So you might have to put on like airs or put on an act rather than being like coming to your true self.
Absolutely.
So like the situation where the role of faith in your transformation, can you kind of go through like exactly, was there some kind of a pivotal moment where the faith became like your path?
Okay, so faith is everything. And I always like, especially now, without it, you don't have much to stand on. When life gets hard, I've learned that faith is a mindset. It's choosing to believe even when things don't make sense. It's staying consistent in your prayer, reflection, and trust. And I'm still growing, but I now understand faith more than I ever have. It fuels my purpose and reminds me that I was never meant to walk this journey alone.
Hmm.
So I share. I share with people. I'm big on faith.
So building a community around yourself and realizing you don't have to go it alone, is that something like where you had tried to go alone too much and then you realized you needed to let other people in your life?
So like, mm, I would say yes and no. And I would say that because I didn't do it alone. I would say that I didn't do it alone. When people started hearing me be authentic and speak my truth, and I was like, again, I was healing myself, not even realizing that, what I was saying, even healing myself, was impacting other people. So
Mhm.
it was getting their attention, and they was like, wow, like they wanted more. They start asking for more, and then that start helping them become brave, like giving them their voice, like, I'm comfortable when I talk to you. Can I talk to you about this, or can I share this? So I built my community off of where people felt safe. I wanted them to feel safe. Like this is your safety zone. This is a safe ground to speak freely and be you and be your authentic self. So I made sure I created amongst all of us. That's why I said I didn't do it by myself. It was amongst all of us. But once they seen me how I was doing it and how I like didn't have any fear and I was giving the truth, it built it, and that's just what they all start doing. So it's all in what you say and how you make people feel in the community. That's what makes it strong.
It's interesting also, like, you help heal nations. Like, you went right to, like, nations, and you talked earlier about, like, wanting that to be worldwide. Did it start, like, where you wanted it to be so, like, broad? Or did you initially want to start within your community, within yourself, or you wanted it to go bigger than that?
Like, I've always envisioned myself like, like I was saying before, on a stage. And it wasn't just for like my neighborhood or, people I grew up with. I envisioned myself with on this big stage, like in front of, like, it was like the whole world, like, all different ethnics, just people from all over, different
Mhm.
cultures, different everything. And that's what I envisioned. And I've had that vision for a very long time at a very, very young age. And I've been going for it. And one thing that I can say, by me going for it, it's been happening. And I'm saying people from all over the world reaching out. So yes, that's why I say nations, because I believe in all over the world.
Yeah, it's interesting today because some folks want to close doors
Mhm.
versus open doors. People don't want to build walls instead of like breaking down walls. So it's interesting when I hear from people who say, I want to talk to people around the world, where some people are like, well, I want to go back to, like, isolationism. There's this mindset today sometimes where people are like, well, I just want to stay within my own, like, safety zone. Whether it's like, I just want to live in this neighborhood, I just want to live in this state, I don't want to go outside my country, I just want to stay in this zone. And like, we're all human beings, we all have the same issues. And so, like, what you're saying, like, it actually, resonates with everybody.
All of it stems from fear. Like you said, a lot of us want to stay in the States and, stay in this little realm, and me, I want to, I'm saying I want to go all over the world. A lot of it, again, it's just fear. A lot, because it's fear from not being able to really express yourself without being judged.
Hmm.
you know Again, like you said, even being authentic, you still can't be just 100% authentic, because like you said, what if you say the wrong thing, you're too authentic,
Yeah, we have
so
the kind of situational awareness is important. You know,
right.
you have to kinda know the audience. It's like you gotta read the room. Like this
Yeah.
old adage, like, you don't musicians, we do it all the time. It's like, like a comedian does it. Like they know if they're gonna bomb, right? Musician, we know if the crowd doesn't like it, so we
Right.
immediately change.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
but some folks, they keep on reading the teleprompter and it's not working. It's like, well, you gotta change it because it's not hitting.
Right.
So it's like at some point you have to, like, be aware. You can't just be like one track and not be aware, like, what's going on. You drive it into the ditch.
Absolutely. Yes.
So rebuilding, like, for dealing with pain, because there's all kinds of pain. There's like physical pain, the psychological pain. And when you're rebuilding, that can you speak to like the different types of pain that you would like to address with the people that you talk to?
Yes. So like in Rebuilding Pain, so like in my books that I wrote, um, I always like, so like my books, I take readers to different through different stages in my life, from like childhood to young motherhood to adulthood. And each chapter presents a real life scenario and it invites the readers to place themselves in my shoes. So I don't just tell my story, I walk readers through how I process my pain. I
Mhm.
include the affirmations, the reflections, and the spiritual encouragement at the end of each chapter, because I be wanting like even for women and mothers, I be wanting people to feel seen and not judged. I want them to reflect, heal, and believe that transformation is possible. No matter where they start, it is possible.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people don't think they can change. They think they're stuck, and they
Right.
think they can't get past, like, very traumatic things, and, post-traumatic stress, people end up feeling that. It's not just like soldiers in war. Everybody can feel trauma in different ways, um, and some folks, they just, they feel shame about it. Some folks were told, like, the older generation might say, "You gotta suck it up,"
Right.
and kinda not talk about it. He does talk to grandpa. My grandpa was a coal miner. He's like, he was in mine explosions. He's like, like, you look at people like, well, you suck it up because that's the way it is. It's like, I go in the mine. The mine blows up. I made it through. It's like, you need to deal with it. But you don't need to tell me about it. But that's the older generation idea. Is like, hey, just deal with it. But we kind of got to a point where it's like, well, that doesn't work. Maybe it worked for grandpa, but it doesn't work for us.
Yeah, that is true. That is so true. Times are just different anyway now. It's like, you know how like when we were younger, like I guess like not this modern, not this modern youth, but where we can reflect back and we have memories and we think back like, oh, we used to do this when we was younger and that was cool and it was safe then. Times is so different now. It's a lot of stuff is not safe at all.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like there's a lot of fear, and there's some folks, it's really interesting to think about, like the internet, like the web,
Oh
and
yeah.
just because I'm actually involved in software, and the thing that's crazy about the internet, the algorithms actually profit stuff that's outrageous. They
Mm,
profit like people who do like very aggressive speech, very sensational things.
mhm,
It just it that gets a lot of profit. It actually makes money. So, like, a lot of young people are getting, like, they're getting trained in this doom scrolling world of their, like, TikTok and their Instagram and all that. They see all this outrageous stuff, and it doesn't really have a lot of substance.
mhm,
Doesn't demand a lot of critical thought when you're looking at something every 15 seconds, every 30 seconds. You're not diving into any kind of critical thinking, any kind of morality questions. You're just looking at, oh, this has got a lot of likes. This has got a lot of views. Like, so you need to start kind of step back a little bit and look at some moral compass,
mhm.
have some spiritual foundation, right?
Yeah. It's everything. It's just it's all in. Like I said, everything is a mindset. The best thing that I tell people is whatever you're trying to do, change your mindset. That's the first thing.
Yeah, because sometimes we're just so overwhelmed. I
Yes.
think like we're living in a world we're getting like overstimulated. Because like if I'm a child of the '70s, you only had like 3, 4 TV channels, and one of them was PBS, right?
Mhm.
You had the radio, you had your record player,
Mhm.
right? You didn't have like all this information pinging you all the time. You had time to gotta go out and like be away from it. And
Mhm.
so I think this generation, everybody living in this world, like sometimes you have to like, you know, unplug from that
Mhm.
and find a way to center yourself, you know,
Yes.
spiritually and emotionally. Because if you don't, then like all this noise can be very deafening.
Mhm. It's true. That is so true. I definitely tell people the first thing that I tell people is, find some form of spiritual grounding. Because like you said, you just got to reset. You just need a reset button and a way to feel grounded. So if you have some type of spiritual grounding, that always helps. And I don't judge how someone connects spiritually, but I do believe everyone needs something that keeps them centered,
Hmm.
because trauma doesn't disappear overnight. But when you develop a spiritual and an emotional foundation, you begin to release like the shame. And then that's where the healing comes in and forms from speaking, writing, praying, or reflecting. And what's important is that the trauma is dealt with in a healthy way, not through substance, not through avoidance, but through intentionally healing. Because you deserve peace, not just survival. And the reset button is that's what it is. When you reset, you just reset, and then you, like I said, you reflect, and you being still, you getting that grounding that you need.
Yeah, I think it's real important because a lot of times what people do is instead of grounding themselves, they look for scapegoats. They look
Mhm.
for others. So my
Yeah.
neighbor is the problem. You know,
Yeah.
these people in this other town are the problem. You know, the
Yeah.
people in the other state are the problem. The people in this other party are the problems. Like everybody's the problem but you.
Mhm.
No one, takes any responsibility, and there's so much of that going on that there's like that. How many people are you going to blame until there's nobody left to blame? And then you're left with yourself, and it's like, well, you still got the same problem.
Right.
So when you did it, you finally hit you over the head. Like you move to another city, you get a different job, you keep on getting the same result. What's the
Right.
same thing? What's the same common denominator everywhere you go? You.
Yeah. Accountability. That's the number one thing that people dodge is accountability.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, because it's like you have to, authenticity is so important in the in
Mhm.
the and it also like what you're saying, creating like a safe space to talk
Right.
about things.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people, like, if they don't have a place where they feel like they can actually, you know, tell somebody what they're
Mhm.
feeling because they don't want to get ridiculed.
Right.
They don't want to be like, oh, there's so many haters. Like you go on the net, some
Mhm.
little, a kid, 12-year-old kid posted something, and then all these people say they hate it.
Right.
So what does that do to that little kid? Like they thought they were doing something great,
Right.
and then they took all the air out of it, their balloon. And
Mhm.
why'd you do that? Did you need to do that?
Yeah. I feel like there's not enough safe places that's created. I feel like that it should be more community-based things where it actually helps people be able to open up and get to that safe place, because that would keep a lot of the mental illnesses down, and people just snapping and taking their mindset to a whole different mind state. So I just feel like um community and safe places and healing, that is very important, especially nowadays. It's like mental health is just like at its most highest that it's ever been, it seems.
Yeah, that's the always thing. The interesting thing to me is like, yeah, if you get healthcare through your job,
Mhm.
and then you go to use your mental health benefit, and they limit it. Like if I'm a
Mhm.
diabetic, they don't limit my insulin. They
Mhm.
don't say I can only get 12 insulin shots. That's all I can get. Like they don't say you go for mental health. Sometimes you get plans that say they only can give you 12 visits.
Yes, that's
How's
true.
that gonna is 12 visits gonna do it? Like, why don't you actually, like, give me enough visits to solve my problem?
Right.
It's
Right.
it's like they don't think of it as significant as heart disease or diabetes or cancer, but it is.
Hmm.
Like, you can die,
Yes.
and I think it's like people should demand, like, this needs to be accounted for because it's the same thing,
Hmm.
and I think it's like this idea that they act like it's not at the level of other illnesses or other
Hmm.
situations that afflict human beings. It's like it's just as powerful as anything.
Hmm. It is severe. It's very severe, very much severe. Um, People just don't. I think now a little bit like lately, these last past couple of years, people are really taking it into consideration, mental illness a little bit more. But like you said, how are you going to get the help you need with just 12 visits? Like that don't even make sense. It's like it's limited. Like your mind is is limited down to 12 visits. Like that's just for that moment, you
Yeah.
know. That was another reason why I wrote my books the way I wrote them. After every chapter, it gives you. I wanted to pull the author. I mean, I'm sorry. I wanted to pull the readers in with
Mhm.
me, being the author, because I wanted them to be able to look and dig deep, and I wanted them to see what their issue was at the time that I pulled them in my life where I was at, and have them pull themselves in there. I wanted to pull them in for the problem, and I wanted them to get the solution. So that's the reason why I wrote my book, like those books like that, so I could, again, like I said, can give them some type of close, an affirmation, a Bible scripture, words of encouragement. I did it for mental health reasons because I have never read any books like that.
Mhm. You wanted to have an
And
impact. You wanted to be able to have a
yeah,
process, have somebody have this healing process within your structure of your book, that you have a
yes.
way to have, like, this remediation, this kind of
Hmm.
understanding, and the thing is, it's real important because, like I was saying, with the healthcare system is like a failing when
Hmm.
it comes to, like, spiritual guidance and mental health.
Hmm.
It's a failure because it's designed by, like, actuaries and
Right.
accountants, and
Right.
they're just looking at numbers.
Hmm.
They don't care about souls. They don't care about spirit. They just look like they what's the cheapest way we can do it.
Right.
So that's why you have to go to people that have books, that's motivational speakers. They got to go to this other economy, or this other sector in the world, because people will feel like I need something, so they
Right.
start searching for it. And they
Yes.
start searching for good voices that will actually positive voices that will help
Mhm,
them, because, like, the society, the structure that we've been told, oh, this is supposed to do it. Well, the
mhm,
pill's not doing it, the visit's not doing it,
mhm.
the therapy session's not doing it. What else could do it? So I need to actually read, or I need to hear from people. I need to have a safe space to talk.
Yeah,
That's like opens up. Say, hey, I don't have to spend $500 or $1,000 for this pill,
right,
for this session. I can actually talk to somebody, or read,
right.
or go watch you talk,
Mhm,
at a session. So
mhm,
that I think that's important for to give people these other pathways.
mhm. Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
So are you working on, you did your 2 books, and
Mhm,
you're touring with it now, like, virtually, and
mhm.
we talked about, like, you're gonna physically maybe go to, like, book conventions, or, bookstores, or that's your plan in the future?
So I am on like major platforms like Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and Lulu Bookstore. I am on platforms, but
Mm.
I actually we are putting some things together, like again, so like I can go to like some engagements where I'm
Mhm.
doing a book signing and a book launching, where everything be right there, and where I can actually I'm really trying to get it to where I can actually speak as well.
Okay.
um Even doing the signing and the book launching, that's what I preferably want to do, is
So to have
speaking.
like you have a talk and then you
Yes,
have a signing. So there's some
yes,
authors that will go and they'll have like a book signing, but before the book signing, they'll read from the book or they'll have a discussion and then
right,
they do the signing. It's not just a pure signing.
right. And the reason why I want to do it like that, because I want the readers that are purchasing and that are interested, I want them to know exactly what they're getting. I want them to
Yeah.
know that even though it's true life, story, I want them to know that it's not just about me and for me, it's about us. It's about
So,
them too, and it's about how they feel and their mental health and what they go to too on a daily.
so would you read from the book or would you talk like a motivational speaker or you'd read sections of the book?
So I would kind of do a mixture of both. I would talk like the motivational speaker that I am, and I would take certain, like just certain little chapters, depending on what I am speaking on at the time, out of the book, because again, the book touches back all the way as when I came into the world, both of the books.
Hmm.
So I can go back. So, like for an example, the sequel goes back to when I came into the world. So I have things all the way back to me coming in the world. So that's one thing that I do love about my books, how I designed them, that I can go to different parts of my life and touch back different parts, different ages, atmospheres.
Hmm.
So just depending on what I'm speaking about at that particular time, I can always go back and touch back because again, it's about different parts of my life. So I can read certain chapters out of there.
Yeah, life is like well, life happens sequentially, but like our memory can bounce around, you know,
Yes.
in based on where what point you are in your life. You go to this point, you go to that point to emphasize like a point. So you might go backwards, it's like in a film. Sometimes you have
Right.
flashback, and it's only
Right.
flash forward. You kind of they
Mhm.
move in multiple sequences,
Right.
within books. But is this a book available? Are your books available as audiobooks too?
They in the process of going audio is
Okay.
something, like by the holidays just passing by, oh my goodness. And by me getting them published and on the platforms and all of that, everything like with Amazon and Barnes and Nobles, far as in those areas have been behind. So I am working on that. So
Mhm.
it was like a whole big thing, because I ordered books in bulk. And
Okay.
actually, this week, I'm just now receiving orders all the way from December the 1st.
Oh, so
So,
they're running behind.
yes, they running very behind. So, I know that the paperback, the hardback, and the ebooks are available right now.
Mhm. Yeah, the
And
ebooks would be immediately available. The hard copies
yes,
are like they have to get to the publishing printing presses, they have to actually go do it, and,
yes.
that's a process.
But all of those are available on there. It's just that again, like I said, the audiobooks is just a little bit more time because of the delay and everything. And when I say it was, oh my goodness, like even me going places and trying to book and go here and go there and trying to actually take my books, ordering the books and waiting on Amazon and the companies to send them,
Yeah,
it didn't turn out the right way what I expected.
but
But I
you
have them now.
but now things are getting to the right point. You got your supply now?
Yes, I do. I have
Oh,
my first supply. I don't have my sequels yet. I'm still waiting on them to come.
oh,
So,
you wait for you the first book.
yes, the first books I do have now. The second books I'm still waiting, because again, the first books it took almost what 7 weeks,
Oh,
six
wow.
and a half, 7 weeks for me to get those. So,
Yeah, the supply chains or the systems today are so like I just put out like a vinyl record and it took a
mhm,
little while because
mhm,
there's only so many places that actually still press vinyl,
mhm,
and now vinyl is getting to be big again because the kids have figured out that they actually like physical.
mhm,
It's like with a book. There are some readers that want a physical book because that's what they want. There's some readers that are cool with the Kindle.
mhm.
Right. When there's other, there's like some people they only want to hear an audiobook because they're so
Right,
busy they can't read a book.
right,
So you got different type of readers
right,
that have want different things.
right. That's true. That's
But it's
true.
interesting. You just like, okay, well, let's figure out what the market is and give them everything they want.
Right. I'm trying to give them everything they want. I'm trying to give them the mental health. I'm trying to give them the paper, the ebook, the audio. I'm trying to give them the
Yeah.
combination
Well,
of
it's like a
everything.
business, like you said. It's like you gotta operate. When you're an author, like artists sometimes writers, we're artists, right? They
Right.
you have your artist mind like when you're writing a book, like
Hmm.
you're in the art mind. And
Hmm.
then once you get it done, it's like, whoa, now I got to get into a business mind. Now I got
Right.
to get into like, how do we do the PR? How do we
Right.
do the marketing? Like, how do we do the booking? Because
Right.
like with your musicians, like oh, you put the record, like you need a booker if you want to get a show.
Right.
Yeah, get a guy to get you in the club. Like
Absolutely.
if you don't have that booker, you don't get there.
No, you don't. You absolutely don't get there. You're going to be pretty lost.
Yeah. So is that the whole like how did that come about? Did you realize you needed to have all the apparatus for that?
Like far as the books,
Yeah, like getting like like getting your book published. There's a whole process for that,
yes,
and then there's a whole process for like booking to get on like a podcast, to get on a radio, to get on TV. If you want to go on TV, there's a whole process for that. There's a whole lot of things you have to go through. So did you like get a managers and management and stuff like that?
yes, I am blessed and thankful for my manager. She has been wonderful because without her, again, what I just said would be lost because it definitely is a process. Everything is a process. Getting the books published is a process. Getting it on platforms is a process. Getting bookings is a process. Everything is a process and it has to be, it's like a formula, you
Hmm.
know, that has to happen first. That's the best way I can describe it. And if you don't have that formula, you're kind of like all over the place because I was at a point. So again, that's why I'm grateful and thankful for the manager that I have. She is wonderful. She keeps me on my toes with all the formulas and in order that they
Yeah, it's always
supposed
like,
to be.
every artist, we're always thanking our
So
producer, we're thanking our management, thanking our booking agency. It's like
yes,
anytime you guys like, yeah, I gotta thank my A&R guy that got my on to get you on the radio. But that's what you have to do because like it's
mhm,
not it will just stay inside. It will just stay inside my house if I
right,
don't do that.
right,
If you sit there like I got all this stuff sitting in my closet. Like
right,
I gotta get those out on the street.
right. Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely different jobs, like I said, as an entrepreneur and as an author, as a speaker, all of those are different fields, different things, even though they all have one thing in common, which is the main thing is communicating. But at the same time, you still need your managers, you still need your marketing, you still need this because without all of that, like I said again, it goes back to the formula. Without all of the whole formula, you can have all those things and you'll just have them. Like you can just have a book on Amazon.
Yeah,
Okay, but is the book getting any sales? Is it getting any traction? Are you getting any interview? Like
yeah,
it's a formula.
yeah, they probably are. Like an artist, like sometimes like you can sit there and write 10 books, but you can't if you can't get them on the shelf. You're just writing books and they're not going anywhere. It's like musicians, like you write thousands of songs. It's like you gotta get that one song to hit.
right,
And so sometimes you gotta slow down. It's like I don't need to write 10 more songs. I need to actually work on this song getting pushed out.
right, yes.
But like what one thing I always ask every guest is like, what are three things about you that you think people would be surprised to know?
Well, first off, I'm authentic. I speak my truth as much as I can, and I'm honest and I'm open, you know. Um, you don't really you don't really get a lot of that, and that comes from just being authentic. You know, a lot of things are scripted, but when it's true, when it's a true story, when it's true. I mean, it's real. It's real things, it's real stages, it's real action. So, um, and everything falls back on mental health. Because everything you have to have a mindset to take you through anything, even whether it's a negative or a positive, it's still a mindset. So I'm sorry.
No, that I think what you're bringing to the table is like important because I think a lot of times people they just like in the scripted world, like we have a lot of people with podcasts is like this. Oh, I'm going to use an AI podcast host. I'm going to use AI to script it. I'm going to go and super cut it so it's totally perfect, right? But then they lose the authenticity of a live interview, and so they get these very scripted super cuts, and that's kind of like the trend is to do all this super cutting and have this perfection thing. Like you got it, like you're a film producer, and I'm like I've been kind of adamant that I don't like that because I think it just is not. It feels like it's fake. And I just can't go for that because I'm more of like a jazz musician. So I like improvisation. I like happy accidents. I like things that are fresh and real. So if I'm talking to somebody, I want to capture that real. That I don't want to say, well, let's do take 3, take 5. Let's try to get that perfect. Like, no, I'm not trying to do like a film.
Right. That's true. Yeah, it's definitely. Whew, everything is definitely. Again, like I tell people, like I said, mindset is everything. That I mean, it seems like that's like just part of the book of life, you know.
So one thing I want to think about, like you did 2 books. Are you thinking about doing the 3rd or 4th book?
So yes, I have thought about working on the 3rd book, and actually, I've been like doing my little cheat sheets and notes and different things like, oh, this will go good in the book, in the 3rd book. And, because like I said, again, I'm still in transformation mode, you know. I don't try to make it seem like everything that I'm speaking about, of course it's past tense because it's not like happening right now, but it's still, I'm still transforming. I'm still going through, you know. So I just want people to know that, healing is a process. It's not just a blink of an eye and it's over or it's done or you healed. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, everybody wants like this like 30-minute 10-step program and then you're done.
Right.
And what I always say is like, people have this, they do like a webinar and they say, well, I did this in 30 days. I said, well, yeah, it was like there was 30 days plus the 10 years before that came up to that point. But you're only giving me the 30 days. You're not giving me the 10 years that you lived up to that point. So it's never going to really fully flesh out because you're not like life doesn't work that way.
It's not a blink of an eye.
Yeah. It's like it's all that stuff that people's like, oh, you're gonna do it. You're gonna be like me. I got $1 million in 30 days. No, you didn't. It's like you got that because of all the things you did up to that point in your life. And you want to distill it that it's like these 10 things. It's like probably not.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say everybody always wants fast gratification. That's all.
Yeah, instant gratification. Where the instant generation. But we do have your QR code up that if you scan your phone, that will bring people right to your Barnes and Noble link up here that has no longer silenced.
Okay.
So if people scan that, they'll immediately be able to click through on that. So that's what the QR code is for. We have your Instagram here as well. And both of those URLs you see on the page will be clickable on the podcast platforms that we're on. Now, we're currently live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Kick.
Okay.
When people check those channels, in the podcast description, those URLs are actually clickable. But for now, that we're on the air live at this moment, if people take that QR code, they'll bring them right to your Barnes and Noble. We do encourage people to click on that and check out your book. And so that's one thing they can do. We encourage everybody watching the show to scan that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you again for being on tonight. And I do encourage people to click through on the links, support the authors that we talk to. That's why we bring creative people onto the show so you can check out their work. And we do appreciate that you took the time to talk to us tonight. Thank you.
Yes.